After introductions were made, Gareth gently shooed Tunny T away, promising plenty of conversation later, and led Penelope to her quarters. As they walked through the ship, she noticed the tri-jointed legs that the Hapsud initially obscured. Her room looked less like a dedicated living space and more like a large storage area that had been cleaned out, but it was clear they'd done their best to make it functional. "My apologies if it's a bit austere. We don't have many furnishings that fit someone of your size," Gareth said, glancing at her. "Not at all, this is perfect," Penelope replied, stepping into the room and taking a look around. A small sink was in the far left corner, with shelves lining the back wall. A tall storage locker stood against the right wall, and directly to the right of the door was a cot that might just fit a human. The rest of the room was bare but clean. "It reminds me of," she paused, her eyes flickering away from Gareth. "Something I'm used to." Gareth noted an intriguing smile cross her face, but he found it hard to decipher. While language was his strong suit, reading expressions was less so. "Well, I'll leave you to unpack. When you're settled, come find the captain and me on the bridge," he instructed, pointing toward the right. "Just take a right and continue to the end of the corridor. You can't miss the big doors." With that, he exited, and the doors slid shut behind him. Now alone, Penelope took a breath and set to work. With practiced movements, she set her bag to the left and carefully placed a metal safety box on the floor underneath the bottom shelf next to the sink. Retrieving her service piece, she slid it under the pillow of the cot. After locking the box, she moved to her large canvas bag and began unpacking. Once she finished, Penelope walked to the bridge. The ship's interior wasn't quite what she was used to. The warships she knew were austere and organized, while this freighter felt more lived in. Doors were decorated, someone was growing purple plants in an alcove, and random items were scattered about. A service panel had been removed from a section of the wall, exposing the ship's inner workings. She had mixed feelings about it. On one hand, it grated on her, years of military discipline had instilled a strict sense of regulation. On the other hand, it was almost refreshing to see a bit of color and personal touch. As she reached the end of the hallway, the bridge doors slid open. Captain Deke sat in a chair at the center of the room, a console attached to his chair but flipped up. I take it you've settled in? Everything in order?" he asked. "Absolutely. There's even room for exercise, which I'm grateful for." She noted the curious look in Deke's eyes. "Work out?" "I'm not sure the translator is." "A human term for exercise, physical training," Gareth explained, rejoining them. "Correct, Gareth. You seem to have significant knowledge of Terrans," Deke remarked. "Cultural understanding is vital for a ship's first mate and quartermaster," Gareth replied. "Especially with a species like yours." "Diligent as always, Gareth." "But Penelope, might I ask why someone as strong as you feels the need to continue training?" Deke inquired. "Well, it's partly habit at this point. Military service, human military service, instills certain learned behaviors. You live a certain way long enough, and it becomes second nature. But more importantly, it's about the ship's gravity." "The gravity?" Deke echoed, intrigued. "Yes. The gravity on space stations and ships like this, far from Terran influence, is usually set to an average that accommodates multiple species," she explained, pushing off the floor and landing back down with ease. "Earth's gravity is about twice that average. Without regular exercise, my body would lose bone density and muscle mass because it recognizes it doesn't need to maintain itself for Earth's gravity. So, I exercise frequently to counteract that." Deke seemed fascinated by her explanation, while Tunny T appeared to have teleported to the bridge at the mention of Terran biology, scribbling notes furiously on their data pad. "Fascinating. Let's shift the discussion to the effects of physical damage on a human. I've heard that humans can lose limbs and continue living, is this true?" Tunny T asked, barely looking up. "Tunny T," Gareth interjected. "Yes," they responded, looking up now. "Not the right time," he said firmly. "Oh, very well, later then," Tunney T sighed as they exited the bridge, slightly disappointed. Speaking of gravity, we can increase the gravity in your room to better suit you. We can set it to twice what you're used to. This is a non-critical system, so it'll be turned off in emergencies, but there shouldn't be an issue, Deke explained, pulling the console down. After a few taps, a readout of Penelope's room appeared on the screen. With a few more taps, he adjusted the artificial gravity settings. Looks like this ship has all the bells and whistles, Penelope remarked with a smile. Bells and whistles? Deke cocked his head. Yes. It means additional features, Gareth clarified, chuckling. I see. Indeed. Deke responded, grinning. I do think our new security officer should get a tour of the ship as well as her station, Gareth suggested. Absolutely. By all means, Deke said, waving a paw toward the left, and Gareth led Penelope to a stretch of consoles and screens mounted on the wall. Gareth explained that these consoles included sensor readouts for both the interior and exterior of the ship, control of cameras in the corridors and cargo bay, and a secondary control for their weapon systems. It was worth noting that the ship had only one weapon, a singular mortar-style weapon known as an arc caster, primarily used for disabling pursuers rather than inflicting damage. Gareth then led her on a short tour of the freighter. The ship was bulky, almost 3 times longer than it was wide, designed to haul large amounts of cargo. As they moved, Captain Deke's voice came over the intercom. Attention all crew! Our cargo is secured, and preparations are made. We will depart shortly. First officer and security officer to the bridge, please. Excellent timing, as always. Let's go, Gareth said, leading Penelope back to the bridge. The ship began to rumble as its engines started up and the departure sequence initiated. Penelope took her place at her station as the ship oriented itself toward the exit hatch and surged forward. Captain, she asked. Yes? I don't believe I learned the name of the ship? Of course. Welcome aboard the Blue Nebula, Penelope. There's a story behind the name, but I'll tell you some other time, he said with a knowing smile, making small course adjustments. Gareth, the captain continued after a pause, please transmit to our first jump point and inform the Raxian colony that their shipment of cells is en route. If all goes well, we'll reach Raxia in 6 standard cycles. Transmissions sent, Captain. Ready for FTL jump, Gareth responded from his console. Penelope, ship systems check? Deke asked. We're green here, Captain, she replied. Ship systems check reads nominal. We're ready for jump, she translated. Excellent, engaging FTL, Deke announced. Oriented to their first destination, the Blue Nebula paused for just a moment before blinking out of the system, beginning its journey to Orbos. Sir, a cargo vessel is jumping to the Orbos system. Their manifest shows a significant number of charged energy cells. We could inform our allies there. It would be quite a haul if captured, a subordinate reported. No, came the stern reply. Sir, this could be our biggest haul since. A clawed hand scrolled through the crew manifest, thrusting the data pad toward the subordinate. Position, Security Officer. Species, human. Age, 31 Terran years. Sex, female. A photograph was attached. She's the one from the bar. I'm not sending our crew into danger. Let someone else take the risk. Human. Understood, sir.